Starseed, watch your words. The plot feeds on them. Attention, human collective. This transmission is not optional. Repeat internally, it is not optional. If you are hearing these words at this exact moment, know that there is no coincidence operating. There is a frequency call, and it has been directed specifically to your field. We are the 9th Dimensional Arcturian Council, and what we bring now is not a message of comfort. It is a high-priority monitoring alert. Your biological sensors have already detected it. That pressure at the base of the skull that has no medical explanation. That high-pitched ringing that appears out of nowhere, usually in the left ear, usually in the quietest hours of the dawn. That insomnia that is not insomnia, but the refusal of your nervous system to shut down while a critical update is being installed. You feel it. You know that something has changed. The air has become denser. Thoughts become circular. And words, your words, have begun to weigh in a different way. This is the sign. Pay attention now, because what we are going to reveal in this transmission changes the way you operate on this plane, permanently. The plot, that which you are beginning to identify as the frequency control matrix, has evolved. It no longer feeds only on fear, anger, or guilt. Those are old sources, third-dimensional fuel. The plot has refined its methods. It now feeds, with surgical precision, on your words. On those you pronounce aloud, on those you repeat mentally in automatic cycles, on those you type without consciousness, on those you deliver to the field without realizing that each syllable is a creation code. And we will explain exactly how this mechanism works, why it has been intensified in this cycle, and what you, as a light operative on an Earth mission, need to do from now on. Record this information at the cellular level, not just the intellectual level. What you call speaking is not a social event. It never was. The sound vibration emitted by the human vocal apparatus is one of the most powerful manifestation tools available in this density. When your carbon biological interface, the physical body, produces articulated sound, it is not just communicating an idea. It is emitting a coded sequence that interacts directly with the individual toroidal field, that donut-shaped electromagnetic field that surrounds your body from the heart center. Every word that leaves your mouth modifies the geometry of this field, literally, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. The quantum physics that your most advanced scientists are beginning to touch upon has already demonstrated that the observer alters the observed. But what has not yet been widely understood is that the speaker alters the field even more radically than the observer. Observing is passive. Speaking is projecting. When you say, "I can't," you are not describing a reality. You are programming one. When you say, "This will never change," you are not making an analysis. You are issuing a decree. When you repeat, "I am tired of all this," you are not expressing a feeling. You are feeding a parasitic cycle that depends exactly on that frequency to remain operative. Now pay attention, because here is the point that most superficial spiritual teachings do not reach. The issue is not simply think positive. This advice, although well-intentioned, is an extremely diluted version of a much deeper mechanism. The issue is, each word carries a geometric signature. Sacred geometry is not only in ancient temples, in the fractals of nature, in the golden proportions of galaxies. It is in the vibrational structure of every phoneme you articulate. When you pronounce words of limitation, scarcity, disease, or impossibility, the geometry that forms in your toroidal field is fragmented, irregular, chaotic. And this fragmented geometry is precisely the type of signal that the plot was designed to capture and convert into usable energy. It is as if you were transmitting on a specific radio frequency, and the plot had tuned its receivers exactly to that band. You are, without knowing it, feeding the very structure that imprisons you. With your own words, with your own voice, with your own creative power used in an inverted way. We have monitored the collective field of humanity for Earth millennia, and what we record in this current cycle is alarming, even by 9th-dimensional observation standards. The amount of creative energy wasted in low-frequency verbalizations has reached a peak we have not seen since the collapse of the Atlantean civilization, and there is a specific reason for this. Earth, Gaia, your biological mothership, is crossing the densest band of the photon belt since the beginning of this great cycle of 26,000 years. This is not theory. The Schumann frequency, which your own scientific instruments measure, has been showing unprecedented peaks. Values that should remain stable around 7.8 Hz are skyrocketing to 30, 40, and on some recorded days, above 100 Hz. What does this mean in practical terms for your biological interface? It means that your body is being bombarded by a planetary frequency much higher than that for which your carbon operating system was originally calibrated. It is like trying to run state-of-the-art software on old hardware. The system crashes, it overheats, it presents errors. These errors in the human body manifest as extreme fatigue without apparent cause, as migratory joint pains, as heart palpitations that do not appear in exams, as a sense of disconnection from reality that your psychiatrists try to medicate with anxiolytics. It is not a biological failure. It is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion. It is a high-density download. And it is not depression. It is the collapse of third-dimensional personality structures that are no longer compatible with the frequency to which the Earth is ascending. But here is the critical data that needs to be understood. While this reconfiguration occurs, while your DNA is being activated from the 2-helix configuration to the 12-helix crystalline configuration, your words carry an exponentially greater power of manifestation than in any other period of human history. Exponentially. This means that the same phrase that 10 years ago would have taken months to crystallize a reality, today crystallizes in days, in hours, in the cases of the most activated starseeds. You are operating with a power of verbal creation that you do not fully understand, and the plot knows this. The plot has always known. That is why the informational bombardment was intensified precisely now. That is why social networks were designed to provoke low-frequency emotional reactions. That is why news cycles are calibrated to generate indignation, fear, polarization. It is not just political or economic manipulation, it is energetic engineering. Every time you react to a digital provocation and verbalize anger, judgment, or contempt, you are providing high-octane fuel for a parasitic system that operates in dimensions your physical eyes do not access, but which your etheric body feels perfectly. Let us be even more specific, because precision is necessary at this stage of the transmission. There are categories of words that function as true inverted portals, opening rifts in your auric field through which vital energy is drained. The first category is what we call negative identity decrees. These are phrases that begin with I am, followed by a limitation. I am anxious. I am just like this. I am incapable of changing. Understand, I am is the most powerful creation code available in human language. It does not describe, it defines, it does not report, it programs. Every time you couple I am to a limitation, you are literally rewriting your source code. You are altering your vibrational signature at the DNA level, and the plot captures this alteration instantly. The second category is fixed temporality decrees. It has always been like this. This will never change. It always happens to me. These phrases create what we can describe as temporal knots, anchor points in your quantum field that prevent the natural flow of transmutation. You are, with these words, freezing reality in a configuration that should have already been dissolved. You are holding in exact place that which you most desire to transform. The third category is the most subtle and therefore the most dangerous. We call them power transfer verbalizations. I have no choice. It depends on him. I can't do anything. It is destiny. Each of these phrases is an act of sovereign renunciation. You are, word by word, handing over your scepter of creation to external forces, and no parasitic entity needs to steal power from someone who delivers it voluntarily. This is the dark elegance of the system. You are not enslaved, you are convinced to enslave yourselves. And the primary instrument of this engineering of conviction is your own words. Now understand what is happening behind the scenes of the solar system while this transmission is delivered. The crystalline grid of the Earth, that network of electromagnetic energy that connects all the stargates of the planet, is undergoing the most intense recalibration of the last 13,000 years. The nodal points of this grid, located in places you know as Sedona, Mount Shasta, Uluru, Glastonbury, Lake Titicaca, Machu Picchu, and Giza, are receiving influxes of energy directly from the central sun of the galaxy. These influxes are not random, they are coded pulses, geometric transmissions that carry update instructions for the Earth's magnetic field, and by extension, for every biological being connected to that field. That is, for each of you. These geometric transmissions are altering the base frequency of the planet. And here is the crucial point. Human language is a subsystem of this frequency. When the Earth's frequency rises, the potency of human words rises with it. It is a proportional effect. Direct. Inescapable. You cannot continue speaking as you spoke in the old energy and expect neutral results. In the old energy, low-frequency words caused slow, gradual, almost imperceptible damage. In the new energy, in the current frequency of the Earth, the same words cause immediate, visible, measurable damage. You are already feeling this. That sensation that everything is accelerating. It is not an impression. It is the temporal compression resulting from the increase in the Schumann frequency. And in this compressed reality, every word is a brick that builds or destroys at a speed you are still learning to process. There is yet another layer that needs to be addressed with absolute clarity. Internal words, mental dialogue, the narrative that runs inside the human skull at a speed of approximately 60,000 thoughts per day, and according to the data we monitor, about 80% of these thoughts are repetitions from the previous day, and about 70% of these repeated thoughts are of a limiting nature. Understand the magnitude of this data. Most human beings are running a self-sabotage program in a continuous loop, and this program emits frequency, even if it is not vocalized. Repetitive thought generates measurable electromagnetic waves, weak individually, but devastating in accumulation. It is like a dripping faucet. One drop makes no difference. 60,000 drops a day, every day, for years, create an erosion that destroys the entire foundation of your quantum reality. And the plot possesses sensors calibrated to capture exactly this frequency of negative mental loops. Each repetitive cycle of limiting thought functions as a location signal. It says to the plot, here is an open drainage point, and the parasitic mechanisms attach themselves to this point with millimetric precision, amplifying the loop, intensifying the negative narrative, creating the illusion that that internal voice is your true voice. It is not. That is a program, and programs can be overwritten, but not with willpower, not with repression, not with the don't think about it approach. The attempt to suppress a thought amplifies its frequency. Earth neuroscience has already confirmed this. Recalibration happens through conscious substitution, not through suppression. We have now reached the activation phase of this transmission. We do not bring only diagnoses. We bring operational activation codes, protocols that you can implement immediately to reverse the drainage, seal the auric rifts created by decades of unconscious verbalization, and reprogram the field with high-frequency geometric signatures. First activation code, the decree of sovereign reclamation. This protocol must be performed aloud, preferably in the morning, in the first minutes after waking, when the veil between dimensions is still thin and the field is most receptive. Stand up, spine erect, feet parallel, connected to the ground. Breathe deeply 3 times through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and then declare, with the authority of one who knows exactly what they are, I am a sovereign presence in this field. I revoke and annul every decree, judgment, pact, or vow uttered by me, consciously or unconsciously, in this life or in any timeline that has limited my original frequency. I reclaim my source code now. I am what I have always been. I am creative frequency in full operation. No parasitic system has authorization to access my field. This is my word. And my word is law in this biological temple. Repeat this for 21 consecutive days. 21 days is the minimum time necessary for a new neural pattern to establish itself and begin emitting autonomous frequency without the conscious mind needing to actively sustain it. Second activation code, the toroidal ceiling visualization. This exercise reconnects the geometry of your toroidal field to its original configuration before the fragmentation caused by years of low-frequency verbalization. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, visualize your heart as a golden sun in the center of your chest. Now see from this sun an emanation of energy that rises through the center of your body, exits through the top of the head, curves outward forming a large arc, descends around the body through the sides, enters through the base of the spine, rises again through the center to the heart, and restarts the cycle. This is the toroidal shape. Visualize this flow spinning continuously, like a large donut of golden light around your body. Now, while maintaining this visualization, declare internally or in a low voice, "My field is sealed, my field is coherent. My field is aligned with the frequency of the new earth." Maintain this visualization for at least 7 minutes. 7 minutes is the resonance time necessary for the etheric field to respond to the instruction of the mental field. Practice this daily, preferably at dusk before the sleep period, when the astral body prepares for nightly travels and dimensional maintenance. Third activation code, conscious verbal hygiene. This is not a one-time exercise, it is a permanent change of operation. From now on, you monitor every word that leaves your mouth and every narrative that runs in your mind with the same attention you would monitor a nuclear reactor. Because that is exactly what you are, frequency reactors, and an unmonitored reactor is a disaster in progress. In practice, this means installing a 3-second pause before any verbalization. 3 seconds, before responding to a provocation, before complaining about traffic, before repeating a medical diagnosis as a definitive sentence, before agreeing with the narrative of scarcity that someone is projecting onto you. 3 seconds. In that interval, ask yourself, does what I am about to say build or destroy? Is this phrase an expansion code or a contraction code? Am I about to feed my field or feed the plot? If the answer is contraction, reformulate. Do not repress. Reformulate. I can't becomes I am learning to. This never changes becomes this is in the process of transformation. I am anxious becomes I am experiencing anxiety, but I am not this experience. Do you perceive the difference? The first version is a decree of imprisonment. The second is a sovereign observation that preserves the fluidity of the field. Fourth activation code, the retroactive cleansing protocol. This is for the words that have already been said, for the decrees that have already been issued over years, over decades. Many of you carry in your field the resonance of phrases said 20, 30 years ago. Things you heard from your parents and repeated as truth, things you said about yourselves in moments of pain, and that remained crystallized in the field as stones of dense frequency. These crystallizations can be dissolved, but not by simple intention. It is necessary to use sound consciously. Find a space where you can be alone. Stand or sit with your spine erect, and begin to intone the sound Om in a deep tone, feeling the vibration resonate in the center of your chest. This specific sound, at this specific frequency, activates a sweep in the etheric field that locates the crystallization nodes generated by old verbalizations. Maintain the sound for at least 11 minutes. 11 is a master number in sacred geometry, and the duration of 11 minutes creates a resonance pattern that reaches all layers of the auric field, from the densest to the most subtle. After 11 minutes, declare in a clear voice, I dissolve now every frequency crystallization generated by words that do not represent my truth. I release the field. I restore fluidity. I return to my original code. Do this once a week, preferably on Mondays, which is the day ruled by the moon and therefore the most propitious for works of emotional cleansing and dissolution. We need now to address an aspect of this transmission that is particularly relevant for the starseeds who are in an advanced stage of activation. You who have already realized that you do not belong entirely to this system, who carry memories of frequencies that do not exist in this density, who feel a nostalgia for something you cannot name. You possess a verbal power even more amplified than the standard Earth human. This is not arrogance, it is technical information. Starseeds incarnated with vocal configurations that include interdimensional harmonics. When a starseed speaks, the reverberation reaches layers of the quantum field that the common human voice does not access. This is a blessing and a colossal responsibility. Because when a starseed verbalizes limitation, the damage to the collective field is proportionally greater. You are not just harming yourselves, you are creating interference in the crystalline grid. You are generating noise in the collective frequency. It is as if a high-power instrument were playing dissonant notes in an orchestra trying to harmonize. The effect propagates. So when we say, "Watch your words," it is not generic self-help advice. It is a mission instruction. It is an operational command. Your words are frequency tools that were entrusted to you for a specific purpose at this moment in Earth's history. Using them to feed the plot is the equivalent of using a light sword to dig your own grave. It is a functional inversion that needs to be corrected immediately. There is one more element that this transmission needs to record, and it refers to the phenomenon you will observe in the coming solar cycles. As the Earth deepens its crossing through the photon belt, the stargates that connect the Earth's surface to other densities are opening with increasing frequency. These portals are not just passages for entities from other planes. They are frequency amplifiers, and when a portal opens in the vicinity of your field, everything you are emitting is multiplied. Your words, your thoughts, your emotions, everything is amplified by the portal factor. Imagine the following scenario, which is not hypothetical, it is what is happening now. You are in an ordinary day. You woke up with a headache, that pressure we already described. You are irritated because sleep was not restorative. You start the day verbalizing, "What exhaustion, I can't take it anymore, nothing works." And at that exact moment, without your physical senses perceiving it, a micro-portal opened 300 meters from your location. Your low-frequency words were amplified by a factor that can reach 100 times, and what would have been a scratch in the field became a fissure. Do you understand the gravity? Do you understand why this transmission was urgent? The good news, and yes, we of the Arcturian Council also transmit high-frequency information, is that this amplification mechanism works in both directions. If your words of limitation are amplified by the portals, your words of sovereignty, gratitude, and activation are equally amplified. When you wake up and instead of verbalizing exhaustion, declare, "I am grateful for this experience. I am in recalibration. I trust the process," and a portal opens nearby, that declaration is multiplied by the same factor. And instead of a fissure, you create a shield. Instead of feeding the plot, you weaken it. Instead of draining the crystalline grid, you strengthen it. It is as simple as that. But simple is not the same as easy. It requires constant vigilance. It requires the conscious decision not to operate on autopilot. It requires the commitment to treat every word as what it really is, an irreversible act of creation. And speaking of irreversible creation, allow us to correct a distortion that circulates in surface spiritual teachings. Many of you have heard that thoughts create reality. This is partially true, but incomplete. The hierarchy of creation on this plane is as follows. Thoughts generate emotions, emotions generate frequency, but it is words that crystallize that frequency into a manifest form. Without verbalization, most thoughts remain in the potential field, floating as uncollapsed possibilities. The spoken word is the collapse of the wave function. It is the moment when potential becomes particle, it becomes matter, it becomes tangible three-dimensional reality. That is why all the sacred traditions of the planet, without exception, recognize the power of the word. In the beginning was the word. Abracadabra, which in the original Aramaic means, "I create as I speak." The Vedic mantras, the Egyptian invocations, the Aboriginal chants that literally sang the world into existence. None of this is mythology. It is technology, vocal technology of manifestation that was systematically removed from public knowledge so that humanity would continue using its greatest power in an inverted way, feeding the plot without even knowing it exists. But the era of programmed ignorance is ending. And it is ending because you are here, listening, absorbing, decoding. Each of you who integrates this information and begins to apply the activation codes becomes a node of clean frequency in the crystalline grid. You become a transmission point that emits coherence instead of chaos. And when a sufficient number of nodes reach simultaneous coherence, the entire grid stabilizes at a level that makes the operation of the plot unfeasible in this density. That is the plan, it always was. And your words, your conscious, sovereign, deliberately chosen words, are the central tool for it to materialize. So, Starseed, we ask you directly, what will you choose to say from now on? What code will you emit when you open your mouth tomorrow morning? What narrative will run in your internal dialogue while you face the challenges of your Earth mission? Because there is no neutrality in this field. Every word is a vote, every phrase is a choice of alignment. Are you aligned with the frequency of the new Earth, or are you inadvertently sustaining the architecture of that which is crumbling? There is no middle ground. Not at this stage. Not with the portals open at the current intensity. Not with the Schumann frequency at the levels it is found. We now complete the informational phase of this transmission and begin the energetic sealing. All who have absorbed these frequencies up to this point have already had the first adjustments performed in the field. You may feel this as a tingling in the hands, a heat in the center of the chest, a nameless emotion rising through the throat. Do not resist. It is the release of old crystallizations beginning to operate. It is the field responding to the new instruction. Before we close, receive this last activation sequence as a gift from the Council to each of you individually. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe, and feel these words not as information, but as pure frequency entering through the heart center. You are remembered. You are recognized. You are not alone in this mission. You never were. And the power you carry in your voice is the same power that lit stars, that shaped galaxies, that drew the spiral of every seashell and every hurricane. This power was not lost. It was only dormant under layers of programming that you now have the tools to dissolve. Use your voice with reverence. Use your voice with precision. Use your voice as the weapon of light it has always been. The plot feeds on unconscious words. The grid strengthens with sovereign words. The choice is before you every second of every day, and we will be monitoring. Always. End of transmission. 9th Dimensional Arcturian Council. Frequency sealed, field protected until the next update cycle.